a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
Oh my God! Did you guys miss me? Welcome to the Mental Health Minute of the Gold Diggers. I'm Gang Badoy Capati and I'm a psychotherapist. Actually, the accurate term is mental health clinician. And by the way, just so you know, clinician just means you do clinic work, which means you actually meet patients, you actually meet clients. Kasi iba yung psychologist na theorist, so sa therapist, at iba rin yung clinician. Yung clinician, I think that generally is a term of someone who does clinic work that actually meets the person. That's the I know it might not mean anything to you, but it means something to me. Okay, so I know I skipped a week, but I'm gonna make up for it now. Listen to this. Today we are gonna talk about. Tonight we're gonna talk about the world map of your feelings. So watch this. I'm using the Atlas of Emotions by a professor named Professor Ekman. He's fantastic. Okay. When you get triggered, a friend gets angry with you, you will get mad, you'll feel anger, and then you might argue or you will possibly fight, right? So how does this happen? It's either a friend gets angry at you, and you may be puyat, or addition to it, you are reminded of a bully when you were a child, and so that's what makes you feel the anger, right? So, and if you add a little more awareness to what's happening, kasi hindi pwedeng trigger feeling fight lang eh. If you add a bigger picture, because yes, with your emotions there's always a bigger picture, you realize puyat ka, so your body is tense, it's not relaxed. The more you get angry when your friend gets angry at you, and you argue. Now, if you add pa a memory of a bully and you got reminded of it, you really feel attacked even when they just get mad at you. Please remember, when a friend gets angry at you, it's not the end of the world nor the end of the friendship all the time. Pwedeng nagalit lang sila sa'yo kasi you forgot something, or you're late for lunch. I have a friend who like completely dropped me and said, I can no longer be friends with you because you're always late for lunch and you don't respect my feelings. And I was like, what? And then I have to respect that. And so we are still friends, I think, but we're not in touch. But she really told me, and I have a feeling it's not just because I got late for lunch. I think there were other things. Okay, I can't surmise. She's the other person. I really should only talk about myself. So if you add a little more awareness to your scenario, so a friend gets angry at you, you're reminded of a bully, you're puyat, you actually have other choices other than to fight. So if you really feel you're low on sleep and you're puyat, you can say, can we talk about this tomorrow? I know we can't do that. I know, I get it. Especially, when you want to finish the fight kaagad or fix it agad. But at least recognize that it's a part of the options. Does that make sense? So you can take the time out and say, can we talk about this tomorrow? Are you okay if I call you at 4? But for now, talagang let's not talk until tomorrow. Parang sobrang sobrang robotic nun kasi our fights are always messy and dramatic. And but we're gonna have to try. I think this is one of the options to try, because I need you to know that you have more than one choice. You have more than one choice. Now, if you're reminded of a bully and they get mad at you and you feel attacked, chances are you will avoid this person a lot na lang. Kasi trauma yun from a memory. And if you don't remember it, all you'll know is that the only way to deal with this, so I no longer feel attacked, is to avoid. Now, why is it so hard to stay aware? And I'll tell you why. Because sometimes we only see this line. Can you see it? The stimulus, the trigger. You feel angry and then you argue when actually there are so many other things around it. Don't you love my PowerPoint? Yeah, isn't it so fantastic? Yeah, it's the wide picture. Now, ha, ha, this is the interesting part. You can actually totally feel a completely different thing, but let me present. Let's choose the same trigger. Okay, let's choose the same trigger. A friend gets mad at you and you enjoy it. Like, she got mad. How funny. But it's true. Sometimes we feel this. So, how does this happen? Maybe it's in the context of a sport and you're competing and you scored the goal or you scored the point and then pikon sila and so you feel like, okay, galit na galit sa akin si player B. Ha ha ha, right? I mean, uh, if you add a bit more awareness to it, it could be because you did the score, so your adrenaline is high, so there's a lot of energy, and the energy goes to enjoyment, and you're like, damn, and then you high five with your teammates, and then you, and lalo na when when the other one is so pikon, like, ref, mali yung tawag, or chamba, or she stepped on the line, or whatever, and you kind of feel righteous, that's also another feeling, and then you gloat. But I also, if you add more awareness to the scenario, you only reacted with enjoyment because there was an adrenaline rush. And so you can recognize that you can just play on, high five with your kakampi and go on. You need not gloat. Or you can celebrate it after. But you can also still gloat. But why is it so hard to stay aware? Because again, like kanina, you only see this one line when really there are other factors all around. Okay, this is from the Atlas of Emotions of Professor Ekman, and it's so curious. So I want you to see another map of emotions. Okay lang? O sige. I will restart it. Let's choose the same trigger, which is a friend gets angry, but you feel fear instead of gloat. And I think I know why. It's because you imagine them leaving. Wait, there. Can you see the fear? And then you imagine them leaving. Now, how does this happen? Because when a friend gets mad at you, hold on a second, and then you feel fear, it's usually because you imagine them leaving. Isn't that interesting? Let me pause the share first and reboot just a second. Kasi imagine the same anger, I'm still here, and then you feel fear because you imagine them leaving. And then if you look at the bigger picture, it could be because nagalit sa'yo, you were reading something scary, that's possible. And maybe it reminded you of an abandonment because when someone was mad at you as a child, they either left you in the room alone or they say, go to your room when you're alone. So when somebody gets mad, ang imagination mo, they will leave. Or you will be alone in the end. So sometimes ang funny, when someone gets mad at you actually feel takot. So, but then let's add more awareness. Let's add more awareness. Kasi kala natin when a friend gets mad at us, angry lang yung feelings. But no, with the same trigger, you have so many other feelings that you can feel. So a friend gets angry at you were just predominantly scared, so your heart is pounding, your heart rate is high. But if it reminds you of a past trauma of abandonment, siguro a lot of your breakups come from a fight. Normally, most of the breakups come from a fight. So when a fight happens, you're reminded of being left alone and abandoned. You almost expect them to leave, so you're afraid. Then you imagine them leaving. But if you add more awareness, you can say, okay, I think this can be a fight. I'm really just predominantly nervous. You can have other options like, why are we friends again? Baka naman okay lang to leave. Baka naman okay lang for the other person to leave. But you can also do something else like, okay, I'm afraid because I think he will leave me or she will leave me because she's angry. But maybe not. So maybe I should ask. And it's pretty much the same. Let me show you the full map already of sadness, okay? Maybe you were predominantly senti, or it reminds you of rejection. A friend gets mad at you and you're kind of on a low energy, you feel empty, and you really feel sad. Isn't it amazing? Somebody can get mad at you and your reaction is you feel sad. We always think it's just one line, like a friend gets angry and then you're sad. Why are you sad? Kasi I think they don't like me and I'm ashamed. Like I'm not a likable person. But if you look at the full picture, It also goes the same for disgust, by the way. By the way, when somebody arrogant argues with me, I just like feel disgust. I shouldn't get to say that. So when a friend gets angry at you, you feel, ugh, gross mo, papatol ka sa akin, pwede ba you're nothing. You tend to belittle them, and that's not always the correct thing. It's possibly that you're grieving, and it reminds you of someone who was insensitive, and so you either avoid them, or you can ask, why are you angry? Ginawa ba ako sa'yo? Parang ganyan or something. So there are other options. What I find terribly interesting with that presentation is that we use the same trigger for everything. A friend gets angry, you can get sad. A friend gets angry, you can get angry right back. A friend gets angry, you can feel disgust. A friend gets angry, you feel fear. Like, shit, takot ka na, baka mawala. Lahat yan is association and etc. Which brings me to the theory for today. I don't have a tip, but I do have a tip. Yeah, but the tip is a little practical. I'll just describe it. Find out what kind of different reactions you have regarding the same stimulus. For example, somebody is late for you. On certain days, you're okay. On certain days, you're very mad. On certain days, you like want to break up with them. On certain days, you're like, no problem, 10 minutes. I was on my phone. I was checking email. You can check the circumstances and determine why you felt what you felt in reaction to the same stimulus. Does that make sense? Which brings me to the mental health input today is really you can be facing the same input and you can have 1,000 feelings in terms of reaction to it. You never have just one reaction to a thing. Knowing that alone makes you understand yourself a little more, and that gives you a like a world map or a road map to where your feelings are. You can't just say I'm very angry because there is this study, and this is a fact. There was a study. I made the study. What am I talking about? I did that research. I was in Believe It, and I would watch all the parole hearings. Alam mo yung parole hearings where the inmate comes and says, oh, I already served the minimum sentence. Can I be set free? Not set free, but be on parole, and there's probation and etc. I would stay in the room all day and I just watch every inmate come in and plead their case that kasi di ba may minimum serve tapos may maximum serve. That's why when they give sentences, it's like minimum of 12 years to 15. Ganyan. Pag naka 12 years na, qualified for parole na sila. So they go. And it's usually, I'm good behavior, I changed my ugali, I recognize the error of my ways. You know what I noticed? I shit you not. Like 70% of those who asked for parole right after lunch or right after merienda were granted the parole. Pero yung mga right before lunch or yung mga una like at 7:30 or 8 a.m., parang a large percentage hindi nabibigyan ng parole. I'm not saying this is across the board. I'm just saying it was an observation I made that there are decision makers, kasama yata sa decision making nila if they're busog, if they're gutom, if they have migraines, if they have an uncomfortable stomach. You think that's nothing, no? And I wish we could be really way beyond our physical, and I wish I could say that, oh, we're so ethereal and we're so beyond the human. Like, even if I have a migraine, I shall still help. Some of us, I think, are really good at that. But majority of us, we are really bound by our physical feelings. So when you're puyat, when you're gutom, when your sugar is low, those contribute to your feelings too. And again, same stimuli, you can have 1,000 reactions to it. But there's nothing wrong with feeling your feelings. I think lang there's something wrong if you don't know where it's from. Like, saan galing to? Because that will confuse you so much more. So please know that when a friend gets angry at you, it's very possible to have other feelings. Most of the time, I get sad actually when a friend gets angry at me because I feel like, oh, he doesn't like me. But maybe there are other reasons. So I guess the lesson today is a little more emotional flexibility, please. Don't always think angry, angry. Disgust, disgust. No, we're not robots. Konting emotional flexibility, yes. End to end, because there's so many deaths recently and so many people who've been sad. I'll tell you what. This is also the explanation for why sometimes when you're very, very sad, you laugh. This is also why sometimes when you're very, very angry, you cry. When you're very, very tired or frustrated, you laugh out loud. And that's not like a matching emotion because guess what? I don't think there's a strict matching of emotions. There's a whole landscape of emotions. And sometimes it's just very good to know where you are. So that's it. Well, I'll see you again next week. Remember, just know where you are. Right.